Hello friends, it's your boy Treya, and today I am back for my JJDL Season 3 draft analysis. The only difference between this and the first two seasons of JJDL is we are no longer playing on Pokemon Showdown. This season we added a Wi-Fi division, between me, one of the other mods, and then also John Jr. himself, we were able to make this happen. So thank you to John as well as Obo, and then thank you to all the coaches that applied, so that way we can make this happen. But yeah, I'm very excited about this team. We got a great roster of coaches for the season. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into my team. So getting into my first pick, I was very middle of the draft. Yeah, I was eighth pick out of 16, so I was dead on in the middle. Didn't really know what I wanted. I had a couple ideas just because this was one of the first PDX drafts that I've done. That was post DLC 2. And so there were a couple things that I was still yet to try. I still have not tried gouging fire yet, and so that was in my brain, as well as a couple other things. Kieran Black was on the board, different things like that. But the difference between this league and most of the PDX leagues I've done in the past is this was complete open Terra. So almost every mon on the board was allowed to Terra for a certain price. Obviously, we banned some of the really broken ones, things like Iron Valiant and Dragapult, and things like that, Espathra, all those like really broken Terramons. But for the most part, I think starting with some Pokemon in the 16 point tier, maybe 17, we had Pokemon that were allowed to Terra. And so I had to keep that in my mind while I was drafting, that I could be drafting a very expensive Pokemon just for its Terra. So coming up on my first pick, I was on vacation during the entire draft, and I believe for the majority of the first 2 or 3 rounds, I was actually at the Grand Canyon. So my service was very spotty. I checked in when I could, but by the time it came around to me, I went and looked at the board, and there wasn't much left that I was just like dying to use. Excuse me, I'm a little sick. There wasn't much left that I was dying to use. I always try to make my first pick something I haven't used before, just so I can, keep like learning all the new mons until I've gotten to use all of them. But unfortunately, everything that I wanted to use got taken. And so we decided to pick up All Reliable. Hands down was the best mod left on the board, so you can't be mad that I picked it up. But it just is something I've used before, and I would rather have used something else, but I can't complain. So we got Urshifu single. Everybody knows what this mon does by now. Best mon in VGC format. This is obviously not that. It's still singles, but still one of the best mons on the draft board. It's extremely strong. 97 base speed is a good speed tier. It outspeeds over half of the decks. Wicked Blow is one of the best moves in the game, if not the best move, paired with Unseen Fists, to be able to break through any protection, as well as just do a massive amount of damage. We got good coverage. It's got good setup, and it's got momentum with U-turn. So yeah, this is just a very fun mon to use. It's got the perfect speed tier for scarfing, which I do love my scarfers. So yeah, I think this is a pretty self-explanatory pick. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the second one. So getting into my second pick, I really just wanted to get something that paired well with Urshifu. Obviously, Shifu has 3 main weaknesses, and that being flying, fighting, and then the big one is fairy. So I really wanted something to check specifically those fairies, as well as fighting, because we just don't really hit them that hard. Flying still do not like switching in on things like a Wicked Blow. But yeah, we decided to grab Glow King. I thought it was probably the best thing I could pair with Shifu at the time. I went against my draft plan of just picking the best 3 mons available, just specifically to make this pair, because I think it's such a good pair. Slowking is very much in my comfort zone. I am no stranger to using Slowking. It's a regen mon. Everybody knows what it does. He's got chilly reception for amazing movement. He's got Trick Room. He has really good coverage, a decent special attack stat. You can run in Fizdef or Spadef. This is just a very good mon. If I catch a team without a dark type, Future Sight just goes crazy. We get Toxic Spikes. This is just a very good mon. It only has 3 weaknesses, and 2 of those Urshifu covers very well in Ghost and Dark. So yeah, I thought this was just a perfect pickup, and let's go ahead and get into the third one. Next up, with my third pick, I saw this thing still on the board, and there's no way I was going to leave it behind. We picked up Iron Bundle. Now, Iron Bundle, a lot of people think is a fraud. I think this Pokemon hits incredibly hard. It's so fast, and I feel like you can actually run this thing very with a lot of versatility. In the hands of a creative builder, I feel like even Iron Bundle can be ran very versatile because it has a decent defense stat, so you can use it to take some hits if you need to, and it also just has a lot of utility, even just out of the move Taunt. And so I'm excited to use this thing. It pairs greatly with Shifu and Glow-King because now I have another momentum Pokemon. It gets Flip Turn and U-Turn. As well as just the best coverage in the game, which is Water and Water Move and Freeze Dry. So I'm very excited to use this Pokemon. Last time I used it, it did not really let me down, and so I have always encouraged other people to draft it, and they have shot me down. So now I'm going to draft it myself to prove to them that they could have done it on their own. But yeah. Pretty straightforward standard third pick. It was the best mon on the board, and I was not going to let somebody else take it and take something else instead. So yeah, that's why we got Iron Bundle. Going into my next pick, some of the best Terramons on the board were starting to go like crazy. And so I decided it was time to get mine. I really wanted to grab this thing round 3, but I knew it was going to last, and I probably could have let it go further because I know a lot of people sleep on this mon. We decided to get Hydrapple. So Hydrapple, one of my favorite mons, in my opinion, it is my favorite mon to come out of post-DLC. Hydrapple is just so good. It's so tanky, even before Terra. It has a decent amount of weaknesses, but it's never dying to anything that's not like a max special attack modest blizzard coming from something. It's so absurdly tanky. It's so diverse. Believe it or not, there are more ways to run this than just AV for attacks. You get Dragon Tail, you even get Gyro Ball for fast fairies. I've used this thing to beat Enamorus before, and it's also good for like fast fairies that have Terra, anything like that. Dragon Tail obviously to stop setup. It gets Nasty Plot and Recover. And so I feel like this mon can definitely be an issue for some people late game, especially if I can get it in with Trick Room with Slowking. And so we have a bit of a Regenerator core. It's nothing new. I'm very comfortable playing this style. Bulky offense has always been my preferred style, and so we decided to pick up Hydrapple. And obviously this is our Terra Captain. I think this thing is a little underpriced for a Terra Captain. I tried to get them to make it higher, and they would not budge, and so now I am going to pick it up and hopefully make them regret it. But yeah, that's our Hydrapple. Let's go ahead and get into our next pick. And next up, we started to get sniped very heavily in the mid game. So this is where being in the middle of the draft board really starts to suck, is whenever you're trying to piece together your team with like all the glue pieces in the middle and towards the end, because everybody on the sides get to guarantee 2 picks that they want, whereas the middle people just do not. Originally I wanted Scizor. I thought Scizor was going to be great for this team because it gave me more momentum. It had Defog, which I thought was very important for Iron Bundle and any potential Rock Weak Terra I chose on Hydrapple, so I didn't have to run Boots on it, as well as Glow-King, who's going to be coming in and out a lot. I did not want to have to run Boots on that, so I thought Scizor was going to be perfect. It was a great physical attacker to pair next to Shifu. Having Sucker Punch plus Bullet Punch for priority was going to be really good and very scary for teams to deal with. But unfortunately it got taken. And so then I was like, oh yeah, let's get Metagross. Metagross has a good speed tier for this team. It still gives me the priority Bullet Punch that I need. It's a very bulky mon, and it still pairs very well with the rest of my team. And it got taken 3 picks before me. So now we're here. We got Jirachi. Definitely not complaining about Jirachi. I love Jirachi. It's a very good Pokemon. Base 100 across the board. Um, the only complaint I do have about it is the no priority, but we make up for it by just T-Wave spamming and Iron Head flinching everything. It still gets rocks, which is something Scizor did not, and so I am excited about that. And it's just a very versatile Pokemon. Any of the mythicals, specifically things like Jirachi and Mew, they're just very versatile, and so in the hands of a creative builder, they can get very difficult to prep for. So yeah, that is going to be our 5th pick in the JJDL. Next up, we decided to get Cyclizar. I did not want to pick up this Pokemon under any circumstances. I did not want to take this Pokemon. I did not want to draft full Regen Core. That was not my intentions. I did not want to draft a second Dragon next to Hydrapple and another Fairy Weakness with Urshifu, but my hands were tied because my removal, all the removal was just going off the board every single turn, and so I had to make a move. So Cyclizar was the best mon available. It does not share any weaknesses with Hydrapple because I will be tarrying Hydrapple. But I thought Cyclizar was still a great pickup. Obviously, it adds to the Regen Core, which in the grand scheme of things is good. It's just not what I wanted to be doing. But it is a very good mon. It's very underrated for only 8 points. It's very, very, very versatile. You can run setup on it. You can just run spin bot. You can run U-turn bot. You get great coverage with things like Power Whip and Overheat for any of the ×4 weaknesses. Spoiler alert, we actually do face a ×4 weakness week 1, and Cyclizar is going to come and hopefully destroy that. We also get like mixed moves. You know, we can run physical or special. We get Draco and Dragon Claw. I think we get Outrage as well, but Outrage is never a move to click and draft. So yeah, Cyclizar, great spinner, one of the best spinners. It gets knockoff, which is always a good thing to have on your spinners because you can punish the ghost types that come in. And then we also have U-turn to scout for who the switch in is to Cyclizar. And so it's just adding to our turning core with Jirachi getting U-turn, Iron Bundle getting both U-turn and flip turn, Slowking with Chili, and then Urshifu with U-turn as well. And so every mon currently on our team either has momentum or an ability that benefits it switching in. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into our next pick. Next up, we have Klefki. So I really did not want to take this Pokemon. I am not a fan of Klefki. It's one of those Pokemon that when you use it, it's just not good, but every time you play against it, you really just struggle to beat it. And I really did not want to take it, but it fit my team super well. It gave me hazards, it gave me screens, which I thought was very incredible with things like Hydrapple and Iron Bundle and Shifu. I think all 3 of those love to have hazards and they love to have screens, and I thought it was just a perfect fit. It gave me a Fairy type as well as a second Steel to pair next to Jirachi. Unfortunately, neither one of them resist fighting. My team is currently extremely weak to fighting, but between Terra, Hydrapple, and Slowking being one of the best fighting checks in the game, I'm not really super worried about it. Next up, we have Mismagius. So getting towards the end of my draft, I did pick a little expensive for the first couple rounds, and so I had to compensate with some lower picks. But Mismagius, I think, is a great Pokemon for 6 points. I think it's very underappreciated as a Pokemon. And even though it is such a low-tiered Pokemon, I feel like it gets drafted every single season just because it has such good value. It's a great Pokemon. It's got Levitate, so it gives you a ground immunity. It's a ghost type, so it gives you a fighting and a normal immunity. One of the best great touch checks in the game, unless they are booster attack or a booster speed bulk up. But we get a lot of utility out of this Pokemon, a lot of good coverage, and it allows us to have some more versatility. This Pokemon does not get momentum. So this is the second Pokemon we've drafted in a row that does not get momentum, but we have plenty of other utility to bring with it. Next up, I really debated very hard on this pick. There was something that I wanted that I thought was going to help out a lot more, but then I got talked out of it by the good friends in my front office. We decided to pick up Terra Beartic. Terra Beartic, probably isn't going to come to the most games, but on the off chance we see a team that just does not have a lot of ice weaknesses or ice resistances, and also does not have any weather control, Slowking into Beartic is going to run crazy. And if we see a rain team, we can also run Swift Swim Beartic if we want to. But this mon is just overall solid mon, especially for 6 points with Open Terra. Any ice type or electric type with Terra is automatically going to be at least solid. Just due to the fact that Bolt Beam is an incredible coverage duo. So yeah, Beartic, not much else to say about it. It's a low tier Terra Captain to pair next to our good friend Hydrapple. Probably not going to see the light of day, but maybe 1 or 2 times this season. But when it comes, it will most certainly be making a difference. And last but certainly not least, we got our boy Eduardo the Golem. This mon is here specifically because I did not draft a ground type. My team is decently weak to electric outside of Hydrapple and Cyclozar. But at the same time, electric types are just not as oppressive, aside from, I think there might be 2 or 3 electric types that did get drafted with Terra, so we'll have to watch out for those, but Eduardo the Golem is definitely going to be able to help with that. Gives us a second rocker, and it also gives us a meme strat towards the end of the season if we want to run that. But Sturdy Custap is always an actual thing. It forces either kills, or it forces to stop sweeps by having them swap out because they know I'm going to kill them. So if on the off chance I come across a matchup where I know I'm going to get my shit swept, we do have Golem there. So yeah, this is going to be it for my draft. I'm very excited to use this team. I think it's one of my favorite teams that I've drafted. I feel like I say that every season, but I think I'm just getting pretty solid at drafting. I do love the Hydrapple. I love Bundle. I love Glow King, Shifu. I love everything on this team. I'm very excited for it. And like I said, we have a very talented roster of coaches. Probably one of the most stacked drafts that I've ever been in. Probably the most stacked draft I've ever been in. So I'm very excited for the competition. I'm very excited to see all the YouTube videos I'm going to make appearances in, and very excited to upload my own YouTube videos this season. So yeah, if you guys like this team, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. If you think there's any changes I should make to it, go ahead and leave those down too. Leave a like on this video, and I will see you guys for my week 1 JJDL match. Peace.